Okay, here's what being emotionally unavailable actually means. So, I've seen this term tossed around, especially on social media, and a lot of the times it'll be like, if you only like people that don't like you back, that's a sign that you're emotionally unavailable. And I was like, OMG, like literally me, right? But I never actually looked deeper into it and just had it as a passing thought in the back of my mind. But I had an epiphany laying down in my bed last night when I realized that you're emotionally unavailable because you're literally grasping at straws to take care of yourself. So, how could you have the emotional capacity to be taking care of someone else? Because at the end of the day, a relationship is taking care of someone else and they're also taking care of your emotional needs, right? And especially when you're younger, I'd say, I don't know, if we go with the average of when your brain develops, like 25, if you're under the age of 25, especially if you're in university or even just living on your own at that age, it's hard to take care of yourself. And at least for me, I can't even imagine having to take care of someone else's emotional needs when I'm honestly barely hanging on to a thread myself. So that is what I figured out being emotionally unavailable means. It's that currently in your life where your priorities are, you don't seek love from others as your priority, but you're actually seeking love from yourself. And let me explain that a bit more. I mean, like, I need to work on loving myself before I have love from others as a complement to my life. And I know that just sounded really cliche, but that's really the genuine oops. Just got a Teams message. But I feel like that well, I should really mute that while I film. Okay. Yeah, it sounds cliche, but it's the true conclusion that I've come to, which is that I'm emotionally unavailable because subconsciously knew that I need to work on loving myself, that I need to work on loving myself before I can enter a relationship because subconsciously I knew that entering a relationship would be too much baggage for me to handle. And in the past, I hadn't really entered any relationships, but I had played with the idea. And anytime it ever got close to that point, like my brain would just shut down and it would be like, no, 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 like we can't do this. Like this is not it. And at first I thought it was because of some childhood trauma, whatever, like attachment styles. But really thinking about it, it's just because I don't have that capacity in me. Like, girl, you are barely taking care of yourself. There's no universe where you need to add an extra thing onto your plate. And yeah, a relationship is a task. Like it is something that you have to put effort into and you have to commit to. And as a capitalist citizen in university, this is just not feasible right now. And when I was going through this entire inner monologue, I had thought of this hairdresser that once told me, you shouldn't you shouldn't say no dating in X period of your life because you never know, like, etc., something like that. But at the end of the day, like, I know myself, you know yourself, you know what you can handle and you know what you can't handle. So if you set that boundary for yourself, I don't think that's a bad thing. And it's also a personal decision. The boundary being like, I don't want to date right now. I need to take care of myself. Like, that's a super fair boundary to have. And I don't think you should let anyone tell you otherwise. Like, at the end of the day, I think ultimately this comes to my whole self-realization in general that you really need to have a strong sense of self. Like at the end of the day, you only have yourself, not to sound like capitalistic individualist, but like at the end of the day, like, you go back home to yourself, right? So if you don't know who you are and you don't have a strong sense of who you are, that is going to mess up everything else you try to branch into in your life. Like, you have to have strong roots at the foundation before you start checking out all the amazing things that life has to offer. At least that is the conclusion that I've come to. And maybe it will change in a few years, but ultimately I've come to the solid conclusion that you need to have a strong sense of self and you need to be working on that when you are younger as a priority so that you're not waking up one day like, who the hell am I?